taking a look at our next point, and that is that where Jesus comes from, Jesus' origin, really matters to understanding exactly who He is. Okay? Now, I want you to take a look back in the book of Matthew chapter 1 again. Okay? Since we're flipping between Matthew and Luke, let's go to Matthew chapter 1. And taking a look again of this account of Jesus' birth and His conception from Joseph's perspective. And you remember as we were looking through this, we read about how this angel came and appeared to Joseph. Now, as this angel came and appeared to Joseph, I want you to take a look at verses 22 and verse 23, because this is what is going to really show the importance of all this. Some people may be thinking, well, does it really matter if we believe that Joseph is Jesus' real father? Does it really matter if we think that Jesus was virgin born? I mean, after all, you know, that's just simply, could it just simply be a little small detail in the whole mix? Well, okay, this is why it matters right here, okay? Take a look at verse 22. It says, all of this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will be with child, and she will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel. Okay? Now, this is a quotation from the book of Isaiah in chapter 7. And this prophecy in the book of Isaiah had a fulfillment in Isaiah's day, but it also had an ultimate fulfillment in Jesus' day as well. And more so than the idea about the virgin birth and the idea about how a virgin is going to conceive and bear a child, more so than that, in my opinion, is what follows. And that is that he shall be called, or they will call him, Emmanuel. Now, why does that matter? Because of what Emmanuel was and what Emmanuel means. What is Emmanuel? What does it mean? Well, this right here, it says it means God with us. That's a word, what the Hebrew word Emmanuel really means, is God with us. Now, in Isaiah's day, it was a sign that God was going to be with His people and take care of them. And by taking care of His people, there was also going to be judgment to come. But the ultimate fulfillment was in Jesus Christ, where you literally had God physically with His people in the person of Jesus Christ. Okay? And you say, well, really? Is that what it means? Well, yeah, because Jesus was literally the Son of God. He wasn't just simply the Son of God, He was God the Son. Now, take a look at John chapter 1. Now, if you remember I said, Matthew gives it from Joseph's perspective. Luke gives it from Mary's perspective. John, on the other hand, gives the account of Jesus' coming and birth from God's perspective. If we take a look at John chapter 1, we see in the very first verse, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now, like I told you last week, let's not get hung up on the word word. Say, what is the word word? Well, the word word is Jesus, because if you look at verse number 14, it says this, the Word became flesh and made His dwelling among us. And we have seen His glory, the glory of the one and only who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. Now, if you look in the NIV version, at least the 1984 translation, if you look down the footnotes, you see in the footnotes it has an alternative translation, which is a better translation, where it says, or the only begotten. Okay? Instead of the one and only, it is the only begotten. The Word became flesh. What does that mean? Well, we have God, the Word, who is now becoming flesh. Now stop and think about that for a second. We have the Creator becoming His creation. Jesus is not God out there somewhere. Jesus is God coming and being with us. Emmanuel, God with us. The Creator becoming His creation? Wow. Who would have ever thought that? Who would ever have thought that God would be His creation? But that's what happened with Jesus. Continue to take a look at it again. The Word became flesh, and He made His dwelling among us. He didn't just simply come and become His creation for a short time period and then said, okay, I'm done slumming with the inhabitants of the earth. I'm going back to heaven. He made His dwelling among us. He lived among us. He stayed among us. You know, to live with somebody is to experience the same things that you experience. Is to share in the same things that you share in. It's not just simply staying and visiting. It is coming and having a joint relationship there, a joint partnership there. You're in it together. And that's what we see. What's more, as it says this, we have seen His glory, the glory of the only begotten, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. You know, if you stop and think about it, all the religions of the world come from a man, don't they? If you take a look at Buddhism, didn't that come from a man? Take a look at Islam. It comes from a man. Christianity doesn't come from a man. Christianity comes through Christ, and Christ wasn't a man. As a matter of fact, Christianity isn't, true Christianity isn't a religion at all. If you take a look at the Bible, you see that disciples were called Christians because they were followers of Christ. And if you think about it, I don't really consider us as a religion. I consider us to just simply be followers of Jesus Christ. It's what we should be, isn't it? But you think about it, here we have all of this religion in the world today, and it doesn't matter what the religion is. You have this religion today that, when you take a look at religion itself, you can trace it back to a man. It's somebody's idea. It originated from a person. Even if they say, well, the idea came from God, it originated from a man. Except for Jesus, where it actually came from Jesus Christ. Now, don't you see how it really matters where Jesus comes from? Because if Jesus was just simply another man, then what difference does it make, honestly? There's only so much that a man can do. But Jesus, on the other hand, by being God the Son, Jesus can do something else, can't He?